get the blues sometimes. You're feeling really down. Wishing you were someone else. As you scroll up and down and see you ain't got the lights like her, but that don't really matter. Cause you got it all, baby. Hit 'em with the shoulders in. If not, don't care who's looking. You better feel yourself. Touch on your body, baby. You better love yourself.
Welcome to the BZ Podcast. Today, we have the pleasure of sitting with the very talented, soulful, melodic, running out of adjectives, Ria Boss. Yes! Ria Boss. Yeah, we need sound effects, yo. We gotta get sound effects on the podcast for real. For those that aren't familiar with her, she's a recording artist out of Ghana. Mm-hmm. That's correct,
that
right?
Is correct. That is correct.
Anything wrong? All right. It's Accra, right?
Yeah, Accra, the capital.
Accra. Capital of Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
I randomly stumbled upon her Instagram years back. I followed her throughout the years. Always wanted to work with her in some capacity. Finally came to fruition, and we're just ecstatic to have her on as our first guest. Ria Boss, ladies and gentlemen that aren't listening right now.
I'm so excited to be on.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Awesome. So what's up? How are you?
I'm good. You know, it's been I've had like a kind of crazy couple of weeks, but I'm doing good. I'm alive is what I'll say. I'm alive and I'm blessed. So I give thanks.
No,
yes.
very much so.
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, I want to jump right into it. Find Your Free is probably my favorite EP.
Oh wow, thank you.
Yeah, Find Your Free is my favorite EP. The Flame On, I'm a sucker for live music, so anytime somebody's doing live music, you got me. You know what I mean? Flame On is my joint. Holding Hands in Public is my shit. Equal is my shit. I just really enjoy your music. You know?
Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you actually took the time to take the journey, because between Equal and Holding Hands in Public, there's a lot of EPs in between.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Playing catch up was crazy. It's so much music.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, all right, so since, Zay was selfish enough to not share your music with me before this, I'm a little upset about that, but I will tell you, I am in awe of what you have created. You sound like a trap India Irie.
Thank you. Yes, I received that. Trap India Irie.
You're
I love
like,
it.
cool. Because I sound like India Irie, but you're a little gutter.
Okay.
But your voice is just so buttery and rich. I just love it. And I planned on just skimming through your music real quick, just to get a feel. Mm-hmm. But the next thing I knew, I'm just listening to every track in its entirety. I never felt the urge to skip a track. And the feeling you bring to each set of songs just definitely encompasses the listener. You're just so open, honest, and relatable.
Thank you.
And no problem. And afterwards, I called Zay, and I'm like, woo! I feel like I just went on a journey. I'm worn out.
She said she was emotionally exhausted, not in a bad way, but just you took her on a ride. And to my credit, I told her when we first confirmed that we were going to do this, I told her 3 weeks ago, hey, yo, catch up on this music, yo, it's dope.
3 weeks. No, but this is the thing. Isaiah's she cool. No. Don't do that dry. She cool. He should have told me this is urgent. You need to hear
I have
this.
a problem. So I gotta admit, I have a problem when I'm really excited about something, or I'm not as excited. It's going to be the same thing when I'm talking
tell the
about
difference.
it. Yeah, so that's my bad. I gotta work on that.
Yeah, you should have said no, Brittany. Now, you need this in your life now, and I needed it. God. Okay. But yeah, so pretty much I'm just saying that is real talent to be able to just take someone like that, on a journey. And I loved every track from Cookout.
Yeah,
Low is my favorite one. Yes, Low is my jam. Nigga, you ain't slick.
You ain't hello. Not slick at all.
Yes, right. And the Underwater EP, the whole thing just creates such a dreamy, melancholy mood. I just love it. And Soulmates is such a beautiful song.
Yeah. I love that song.
Yes.
It's a beautiful
That's
song.
probably a favorite that I recorded.
What'd you say? I'm sorry?
That's probably one of my favorites that I recorded.
I love it. It's stuck in my head all the time. I love your women empowerment tracks. You make me feel proud to be a woman.
Yes.
And
I'm a woman's woman. I'm all about that.
Yes. Bloodbath is a masterpiece in my opinion.
Thank you.
I love the intro.
I get that from women mostly. Bloodbath resonates with me all the way.
Yes, like that is. I just feel your soul just pouring out in that one. All the tracks on that project are amazing, but I could just keep going on and on. Like I had to cut this short because I was just going. Like I had a long list, but people need to go. People can just go check it out themselves. I don't want to take up too much time, but you've had a busy last year, over 44 songs in 11 weeks, under the series title "Thank God It's Ria." And thank God it's right because it's incredible. So tell us about the process of this 11-week project.
Okay, so kind of like disclaimer. So when I record music, I tend to I record for fun. Like it's something I like to do. So I'm sitting on a vault of over like 300 songs I've recorded over 4 or 5 years. And so your face is right now.
That's a catalog.
Yeah, so my stepbrother was like, yo, like you're sitting on a lot of this music, you don't have a lot of EPs out, and why don't you just like do something for your fans where you kind of just like release some projects, give it out to them for free because you have enough music to do that. And I realized I've always been kind of like waiting for a reason to drop music or waiting for the right moment or waiting for something. And I realized that no, I shouldn't wait anymore. And so I'm born on a Friday. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do it on Fridays. Thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's Ria. I'm going to take over your Fridays.
I didn't even beat that.
And when is your birthday?
And my birthday
is
November 24th. So I'm a Sagittarius.
Yeah, I knew you were a Sag. Yes. I was like, she has to be a Sag. Continue.
Yeah, so then I decided, you know what, like leading up to my birthday on November 24th, I was going to decide every single Friday I was going to call it Thank God It's Ria, and I was going to drop a 4-song EP every single Friday. And all of the EPs, a lot of them were, how do I put it? Some of them were new songs that I had recorded fresh during those weeks, like the weeks leading up to the Friday, but some of them are also reimaginings of other songs from my vault. Songs I've recorded like 6 years ago that I just decided to change the instrumental, or some of the intros are exactly the way I recorded them 3 years ago, like in Brooklyn while I was there. So a lot of it is just a bit of music from everywhere, but it definitely kind of chronicles what I was going through in my life at the time, I suppose. And that's what I like about it, because each one is very specific to a mood, to a feeling, to Bloodbath is definitely rage. Underwater, you got it. I'm very dreamy, and I'm just kind of like in this in-between limbo state. And so each one of them kind of took you on a journey of Ria. And thank God, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, I've always been a person creatively that just relied on like some type of inspiration angel to create something.
Yeah.
How does that work for you? Are you waiting? What inspires you? Is there like a pressure involved to like deliver, or just how do you tick? How do you tick?
That's a good one. For me, I have to live. I literally have to be experiencing life in order to write about anything. It's not even necessarily that, something has inspired me, so I feel like writing. It's more so how I'm choosing to live is what is guiding what I'm writing about. How I'm interacting with the people around me, or how I'm interacting with nature. All those different things are how I'll be inspired to write. And so even with, let's say, some of the songs off Thank God It's Ria, like I just got out of a relationship, and a lot of those raw feelings that I was going through with him are what I directly translated into a lot of the music. Or relationship with my family. I have a song called Bloodbound that talks about my relationship with my family, because like sometimes it's not your family, it's not your blood, it's your friends. And because I was going through something with my own family where I felt like some of my friends were there for me more than my family was. So it's just the I'm actively trying to live a life such that I can write about it, or live in such a way that I can write, and what you write becomes like a manual or a handbook for someone else. And so it's like if you're living in a particular kind of way, you'll be able to write from that place.
That's really interesting because I think a lot of people try to pull from life, so they kind of let life dictate their art, but you're kind of catching it in the forefront and living your life to create your art.
Yeah.
In a sense, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, which means I live, like, you have to actively live without fear, which is hard. Like, I'm saying that right now, and I'm like, I'm scared of so many things. But, it's actively just like choosing yourself and like just making these decisions such that what you're writing about is very much your like experience. And that's what I think is very important, because a lot of the people that I love, like Nina Simone, Erykah Badu, like Lauryn Hill, they write from places that are very much specific to them. Because even like Nina Simone writing Misunderstood, she was talking about her and her relationship. Like, it's very specific. And yet from that specific place, she got a hit that so many people were able to resonate with. So I think, just living without the intention of pulling from, but just living in such a way that the pulling comes naturally.
Okay. That's super dope.
So usually when Americans think of African music, it's a very particular sound.
Yeah.
But with yours being, heavily based in neo soul, I'm curious to know how big of a genre is that in Ghana?
You're kind of looking at it right now.
Yeah.
No, but
that's not a bad position to be in.
Yeah.
That's not a bad position to be in.
I will say that the Ghanaian underground is filled with a lot of different kinds of sounds. We have trap, we have soul.
Okay.
We have electro, we have rock. The underground of Accra music is very much more global than Afro beats. But in terms of like the genre that I've decided to forge here, I'm like one of very few people who are doing it and not compromising. And when I say that, I mean to say like not choosing to like even like make it a little bit Afro beatsy so I can kind of like no, like. In that regard, there's very few of us, but that's also, like you said, a very good position to be in, because if you are consistent, you're pioneering a movement, and you're like the first of your kind. And that's kind of for me one of the reasons I moved back here too.
Right, because oversaturation over here, I feel that.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask next, like, is there any pressure, expectation though, to add a Ghanaian element to your music?
Oh yeah. What?
Yeah.
What? Oh my god.
Really?
Oh my goodness. Like I cannot like tell you how many times people have told me, for example, we have different languages in Ghana. My family were Ga, so we're the Ga tribe, and a lot of people will say, why don't you sing in Ga? Or why don't you add a couple of Ga phrases to your songs? And it gets a little frustrating, because for me, when I think in music, I think in two languages, English and French. And so it's hard for me, even though I can speak Ga a little bit, I don't naturally fall to Ga in my writing, and I feel like that wouldn't be authentic of me. I feel like I'd be putting it on if I decided to put it in my music.
Gotcha.
And so there's definitely a pressure. I've had people tell me all kinds of things, like add different rhythms, try to be, just make it a bit more Afro beats. You can still write your songs the way you want to write them, but I've chosen to be particularly stubborn.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. It's funny you're saying this, because leading up to this, I came across an article, and it was talking about Africanizing the hip hop coming out of Ghana specifically. And they were saying in order to make Ghanaian hip hop more recognizable on the world market, there's a need to add these African elements, like as far as certain type of drums and things of that nature. Do you think there's some merit to that? Because from the article I was reading, they were saying that the music out of Ghana is sounding too close to Western hip hop. They were just talking about hip hop in this article, and they want to specifically put like a Ghanaian fingerprint on it, so it's recognizable.
one thing I'll say to that is just by virtue of it coming out of Ghana and coming out of a Ghanaian person, it's Ghanaian, in my opinion. And so, for example, some of the hip hop that comes out of here is gonna sounds. We have a group called the Mem Gang here, and they're like our first like trap. It's like they're trap hip hop fusion, but you can even tell with them they're trying to add elements that are, Ghanaian because they need that African thing to help them sell. But the thing is, they're inspired by people like A$AP Rocky and like Odd Future and Wu-Tang, and because they're inspired by those people, maybe their sound isn't going to sound, necessarily like it's from Ghana, but it's coming out of them, and so I think that that pressure to kind of like Africanize it's present, and a lot of our artists are doing that. But I would argue that that's one of the reasons why some of our artists haven't broken as far as they might be able to, is because they're kind of afraid to just like, to take the risk of not Africanizing the music. Just do it the way you want to do it. Because, for example, here in Ghana, we listen to a lot of Western music. I mean, we listen to practically the same thing, like the same things that are on the charts in the States. We listen to the same things here at our parties. We dance into the same music, like, so. In that regard, there should be a market for y'all being able to bump to our hip hop, the same way, yeah. And so without it having to be like add a little djembe drum or those kinds of things. Yeah.
How would you suggest an artist out of Ghana reach a Western population as far as how do they engage an audience over here? I know it's got to be kind of hard.
Yeah, it is definitely hard, but I will say one thing that has like really kind of like made us all one is the internet, right? Like I'm talking to you guys right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And so
we're bridging the gap.
And so I think that, and a lot of Ghanaian artists right now, they are making very good use of the internet and making sure that they're like, going through like specific distribution channels so they can get their music on like Spotify, Tidal, all that. I think it's also about pushing and promoting your brand, because one thing people forget is like making the music is like half the job. Like the other half is like you have to actively push it. And one thing that I know does very well for all markets is people need to see you, your visuals, your pushing of your music. All of that really matters. And so for Ghanaian artists, it's the same. I would say the same thing to like someone in London or someone in the States, is that how consistent you are with pushing your brand and how is what is going to, kind of bring the results that you want. And so for young Ghanaians, it's about making sure that you are utilizing social media. You are pushing to the best of your ability. Like with me, I used to be very stubborn. I used to not like push my music as much because I was like, I want people to find me organically.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I wasn't ever thinking like, okay, but I'm also like a young girl from Ghana. I don't have the same like avenues that someone who might be in the middle of New York might, those kinds of things. And so I started realizing that I actually had to push myself even more. Whereas if I had to go on like Reverb Nation and make an account, or, TuneCore, Ditto Music, all these things, if I had to put myself in the same position that an American or London artist might be putting themselves in, so I can be seen by that same audience.
Right.
Because the way they push it, globally is why we listen to Rihanna here, or why I listen to Beyonce. And so we have to use that same approach. Granted, we have a smaller market, and our capital is a little bit smaller. And our music industry definitely does us a disservice here, because, man, we don't have very good, like, royalty payment. We don't have very good publishing here. And so because of all of that, it really hinders how we're seen on, like, a global scale, right? Because, like, you're not seeing us on your charts. But mind you, you can see Mr. Easy, Wizkid, Burna Boy. They're all doing global stuff, like, in London. You know what I mean? But you don't ever hear of, like, a lot more African artists because of how the industry in their respective countries is also, like, not necessarily being very helpful.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's consistent.
Thing. Wow. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
just the whole music industry period.
Oh my goodness,
there.
we could talk about that for like 3 days.
Are you signed to anyone, or?
Oh, I'm independent, fully independent.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm like, wait, because that doesn't sound like a good situation.
No.
Yeah, and I wanted to jump back I wanted to jump back into that. So you're completely self-produced, correct?
Yes.
So what I wanted to ask about your process with that. Like, so do the beats come first? Do you just get a random melody in your head? Do the lyrics come first? Like, what is the process for you? Or is it a little bit of everything?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Some of my favorite things to do is like building harmony. That's my favorite thing to do. And if you come on my computer one day, you'll see that I have like harmony 1, harmony 2, all the way to like harmony 435.
Cool.
And I like to record lots and lots of harmonies, and I feel like that's where most of my songs start. In how I see the harmony going. And if I'm the one produced, for example, I also collaborate with a producer called the Flower Poppy.
The Flower Poppy?
Yeah,
I want to write that down.
Yeah, Flower Poppy. I also collaborate with him. And so sometimes what will happen is if I feel like I'll build a harmony, and then around the harmony, I might either build the lyrics off of the harmony, which is usually what happens, or I'll build the beat around the harmony, which will determine how the song goes. And sometimes the writing doesn't even come first. Like I write a lot just in general, but sometimes the words don't come. It's about how do I explain it? How the harmony makes you feel is how it'll inform what you're going to sing about. And I'll explain that with one of my intros is called Wild Woman. And I remember for that particular intro, I heard the song in like my head. I heard the harmony in my head. And when I got to the studio with the Flower Poppy, I like played it over and over. We collaborated on the instrumental, and then it was only after it was finished that the words came. Yeah. It was only after it was finished that the words. Whereas there's also some songs where I've been thinking about the words over. Like I have this one song right now that I know I have to record because the words came to me. I was a little drunk. I've been smoking a little weed, and I'm sitting there.
That's the inspiration angel that I was talking about.
Do you like record it maybe real quick in your phone or something so you don't forget it, or is it just locked in?
No. Some depending on how hard the spirit of the song hits, I'll be able to remember. I'll be able to remember it later, but otherwise I record it. And I know I have this one song right now. The words, every single day I say the words to myself. Like every single day, it's like I gotta write this. This song has to be recorded, and I don't even have the instrumental. I haven't built a harmony. It's just these words that keep coming to me. So like sometimes that happens as well, where the words come first. So it's like a little bit of all of it. The words come first, the melody.
You ever felt like a song that's come to you, it's kind of writing itself?
Yes. See, this is the song I'm talking about. This is the one that's in my head right now. What? It's like as the days pass, more words are adding because life is happening.
I don't think a lot of people get to talk about the creative process a lot.
Right.
And I always try to figure out like what drives me or certain things or my process when I dabble into that, but I always want to know other people's process and if it's similar. And I see there's a lot of similarities between creatives. So when we first talked about doing this podcast, one of the things you told me to look up was the Full Circle Festival.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Okay.
Like, how big was that?
Okay, so this year marks the year of return, which marks 400 years since the first slave ships left the African coast, allegedly.
Okay.
And so with it being the year of return, the government of Ghana did this festival that invited a lot of these African American actors, pretty much celebrities, like who's who. We had Michael Jai White, Boris Kujo, Idris Elba, Naomi Campbell, Rosario Dawson, Anthony Anderson, Diggy Simmons. A bunch of different people came down to kind of explore Ghana, to get to know their roots, pretty much just sort of kind of discover their ancestry. But it was also an opportunity for the government of Ghana to kind of beef up their tourism as well, to kind of introduce these people to what Ghana offers, etc., etc. And so the Full Circle Festival kind of brought them all here to welcome them back home. And for the rest of the year, there's going to be a bunch of different events happening. And so, yeah, they brought like a delegation of over 85 like African American, like pretty much celebrities, essentially. And they were all here for about 3 weeks. Literally, like, you go chill at Burger King and they're standing right there. It was so awkward.
Oh my gosh.
It was so awkward. Like, you're just going to the regular spots, you're hanging out, and it's like, hey, Naomi Campbell. Okay, like, no big deal.
Cool. That's cool.
So that's what the Full Circle Festival was. Now, the reason I actually, like, brought it up to you is because it did get a lot of backlash in the sense that, you know, Africa, I don't know, Africa being in now. And so it's like, now's the time that you want to come back. You know, this is the reason that people want to come back. And also, the criticism was that it wasn't that they were coming and, let's say, giving back or as in any kind of initiative on their part. It was our government was funding it completely. And so the money that could have gone towards like infrastructure to help our tourism went towards bringing people here. So it's like a double-edged sword.
That's what I was going to say. I bet that brought in a lot of money, but...
Oh, they spent a lot of money.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to clear up. For some reason, I was told, or this is a running narrative, is that Africans don't like the term African American.
Said Africans don't like the term African American?
Yeah, sounds nuts, but that's something that is common over here for some reason. So I want to clear that up.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. All right.
Let me tell you something, though. Let me tell you something about us Africans, though. We can be very picky and we can nitpick. So I bet you there are some Africans that are like, we don't like that. We don't like that. They're in America, so they're American. I can hear my mom saying that. So, yeah, totally.
Okay. So, I mean, it's a thing, but it's not accepted by everybody.
Yeah.
We got to break down these barriers, man. I feel
break
like there's a disconnect.
All the stereotypes, I can help you right now.
Nice. All the stereotypes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, cool. Obviously, I should have asked this in the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? Like, where exactly were you born?
Okay.
I know you spent time over here. Like,
what's the timeline?
what's the timeline?
Let's give you the history. Okay. I was born in London, and then moved to Gabon in Central Africa. Lived in Gabon until I was 4. Moved from Gabon, lived in Ghana. So French is my first language. I learned French before I learned English. And then I moved to Ghana, lived in Ghana until I was 17. And then I left from Ghana, went to New York, lived in New York for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And then lived in LA for about a year and a half, and then I moved back home.
Okay. Nice.
So I'm about to turn 30 in November. Hey, yeah.
So you about to turn 30?
I'm about to turn 30 in November. So I'm turning up the whole year.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
Come on over.
Cross over.
Yeah, I'm coming on. I'm excited.
Yeah, right? I was excited too. I was like, I don't want to do the 20s again.
No.
I'm
The
glad it
20s have been
happened.
okay.
Don't need to stay there.
I don't know. I miss my knees in the 20 though.
Oh my gosh. Really sad.
Yeah, really. So having experienced all these places, like, it had to have shaped you as an individual, I would assume. Do you prefer any place more than the other?
That's a hard one. I think I get something different from every place that I have lived and every place I have visited. My mom has had the privilege of being able to work in different countries, and so like we've lived in Tunisia, we've lived in the Ivory Coast, Gabon also, and now my mom lives in Paris now. She's the ambassador for Ghana to France. And so we've had the privilege of not only being able to live in different places, but I also have family members. So I'm the only one right now in my whole family that lives in Ghana with my grandmother. Everyone else lives either in the States or in Europe or pretty much Asia, different parts of Africa. And so just the privilege of being able to travel has given me, I don't know, when you travel, it kind of changes your perspective on your everyday trajectory in life. Like, it makes things, I don't know, things that you might think are, things that you get mad at right now, when you start traveling and like expanding your mind, you won't get mad about them. Like, not to get super zen on you guys, but it's like,
Go.
Yeah,
Because
like
I
the
agree.
traveling has for me, I've gotten something very special from every place that I've been or every place that I've lived.
Yeah.
I think where I became myself, where I became Ria Boss, where I like self-actualized was in New York, was in Harlem actually. That's where I became like myself. I would say the place that I learned to love myself more was when I was living in Los Angeles. And I'd say like I've learned about parts of my own ancestry being in places like Gabon or being in places like Cote d'Ivoire or Burkina Faso. That's where my father's from Burkina. So I'm half Ghanaian and half Burkinabe. And so I learned a lot. I don't know, I'm inspired by a lot of things in all of those places, but if I were to, I can't ever pick one. Even living in Ghana now, I can't even say that Ghana is my favorite place right now. It's difficult. Everywhere has like a piece of me.
True Sag, such a traveler.
Yeah, Sagittarius. We don't like to be in one place at all. Like, we don't like that.
Yes. Nope. But when exactly did you start creating music though? Like within all of this, when did you start like recording?
Okay, so the first song that I pretty much ever released, like I'm releasing a single, guys, was on Valentine's Day 2011. Wait, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Valentine's Day 2011. It was called
So you were still in New York at that time, right?
So I was in New York.
You were still in New York at that time?
Yeah, I was. That was when I decided I was going to start releasing music as a singer. But prior to that, like when I've been in school and stuff, I've been singing in choirs. Mind you, it took you might be surprised, but it took me a long time to be confident to sing in front of people. Like a good...
I'm not surprised at that at all. I'll let you know that right now. I'm terrified.
Yes.
When I tell you I had to like hide behind pillows, when you're like, sing for us, like someone would have to hold my hand. Like it took me being in New York and being around like my specific group of friends out there that like allowed me to start getting more comfortable. So yeah, I started releasing music while I was there and started gigging while I was in New York. I formed my first band there. We gigged all over the East Coast. Yeah, that was New York.
Wow. Nice.
Fear. You touched on fear before. Like, how have you overcome that fear of performing? How have you overcome the fear? Because one of the things is scary. People don't want to feel vulnerable in front of people, and how did you personally overcome that? Because fear is a real big driver of all things creative.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you remember the moment where you were doing what you're passionate about and somebody reacted to it in a way that you were so proud of? Like, you did a piece of work and someone was like, "This is amazing," and then that feeling when they said that. That for me is what helps me overcome the fear. Because the first time I saw somebody physically react to my voice was when I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm not going to be scared anymore." Like that for me was like very telling. Someone like the first, I think that was when someone cried. Yeah, and then I'm emotional, so like she cried and then I cried, and it was just we're all crying. But in that moment, I realized that like what I did was invoke an emotion out of someone that I had been feeling, and from that day, I was not scared to sing in front of people anymore. Like it was almost like if I'm gonna do this, it's gonna help someone, even if it's hurting me to do it. Like it's gonna help someone in some way.
Definitely. Well, good advice for sure.
It's funny you say that invoking an emotion. Like I feel like the music that I've always enjoyed made me feel something. Or tapped into an emotion, whatever that emotion was, love, anger, joy, sadness, it didn't matter. So like I feel, and when I was listening to your music, I feel that it feels like a testimony. It's like a testimony over lo-fi beats. You know what I'm saying? And I think that speaks, that definitely speaks. When you start tapping into people's sensibilities, your music reaches. You know, it grows on. It's amazing, man.
It's a double-edged sword, though. It means you have to live through stuff that, like, some people can't live through, and then be able to talk about it.
When did you realize people identified with your music? Was there at a certain point like somebody just hit you up randomly and just said, "This is amazing," like came out of nowhere?
I have every like couple of months. Okay, is it a couple of months or a couple of okay, yeah. Every couple of months I have this feeling where I'm like, I want to delete all my music. I don't like it anymore. It's making me upset. Take it off, delete. Like right now I'm on a social media break. Like I deactivated Instagram. Like, I don't want to, so I go through periods of time like that. And I remember one song I had is called Never Real, and I was getting really annoyed about it. And I was just like, I'm just taking it off my SoundCloud. 3 days later, I get a message from someone I don't know from Japan who's like, hey, you don't know me. I've listened to your music for like 3 years. I just realized that Never Real isn't on SoundCloud anymore. And it's one of my favorite songs that you've recorded. And I just wanted to know, like, can I pay you to send me the song? And in that moment, that was everything for me. Like, I just, that for me was like, okay, you know what? I'm never gonna doubt it, because then you know that there's someone, even if it's one person, right? Like, it's resonating and it's working.
That feeling of like validation is like unparalleled. Right. That's unparalleled. Even when we, as a podcast, every now and then somebody will reach out to us that we had no idea was listening to it. Right. You know, like somebody random, or even people we know, and it's just like, wow, it makes you want to keep going.
Definitely. So, all right. So you said that you left the States about 1.5 years ago? Okay, but you've had time to experience our current president.
Oh, wow. I was there when he was elected.
Our current climate, So I'm just wondering, like, because I know that he does have influence globally of whatever's going on, you know, kind of influences other places. Is there any type of, you know, do you feel any type of that over there in Ghana?
Actually, it's funny you asked that question right now, because last week they just changed all visa requirements. They put sanctions on our country last week. Because they're citing that some of the reasons are because they have a large number of Ghanaian immigrants in the United States and they're trying to deport them. And so until 7,000 Ghanaian immigrants in the United States that they're trying to deport, and until that they're all deported, they're going to put restrictions on us being able to come in and out of the United States. So they're putting restrictions on our putting restrictions on our visas, such that if you already have a visa, that's cool. But if you're about to apply, it's going to be a lot more restrictive. And so, for example, like tourist visas are going to be harder to come by. School visas are going to be a little bit more difficult as well. So for the next couple of months, we have, Ghana has been sanctioned by the United States.
Wow.
See, we over here doing the groundwork, trying to bridge the gap, and they putting up the roadblocks.
Okay. Goodness. Never ending. So what prompted you to move back, though?
Everyone asks me this question, and I never know how to describe it. I had just moved to, I'd been in a really bad relationship for like 3 years. And coming out of that relationship, my family kind of had an intervention with me where they were like, okay, listen, you can either go back to New York and stay with this guy and we're not going to talk to you anymore. Or you can go to LA, you know, seek your music dreams out there and we'll support you. And so I left to LA, and when I moved out there, I was going to the Musicians Institute. But then, like, I guess it was like August, I got this overwhelming feeling to go home. Like, I can't, to this day, I cannot even say what that feeling was, whether some people want to say it's God or like something. I don't know what it was, but something was telling me to come home because I got extremely homesick, and I didn't even fit, like, I still had 1 semester left of the Musicians Institute, like, yeah, like, that's how deep the feeling was. Like, I had to, like, the minute I felt it, I had to move. And I realized it was probably because, like, during that whole time I've been in that relationship, I hadn't had any family. I hadn't had, like, everything was over the phone, or my mom would come and see me for very few periods of time. And my grandmother raised me, and so I hadn't seen her. The whole time I was living in the States, I never saw my grandmother. Like, I only saw her maybe twice while I was living in the States.
Okay.
And so I think all of that might have just become an overwhelming sense to come home. And so I just followed the feeling. Like, it was one of those impulsive, like, if I'm feeling like going home, I'm just going to go home. And I left, and I mean, it didn't hurt that like Trump had just been elected, so it didn't make my decision that hard, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
But
you ain't leave, you escaped.
I ran away. So yeah, in that moment, I came home, and I don't regret it. You know, I do not regret the decision at all.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
I think it sucks that they're sanctioning y'all, because I've wanted to go to Ghana specifically for maybe like the past 2 years.
Well, will it make it more difficult? Will it make it difficult for us to come over there?
I think unless our government like decides to like counter with our own sanctions.
Oh, okay,
I don't think
counter, got you.
I don't think that'll be. But our president just came to the States, and he's supposed to be sitting with Trump, so we'll see.
We'll see how this goes.
Before this, I saw this like YouTube video, and it was somebody who just traveled to Ghana, and he went to the coast, and he went to the door of no return, and he was speaking on just some of the ways Ghana is kind of reaching back and trying to welcome us back, people of the diaspora. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't even know how to say diaspora correctly. But he was mentioning, and I don't know if you can speak to this, but I'm going to say it. He was mentioning that there's certain concessions being made. If you come with the incentive to build, as long as you have the funds ready, it's the process of getting land is going to be received and pretty easier to navigate. I'm sorry. The right to live over there, the void of citizenship, dual citizenship, making that process easier. And I wanted to know, aside from the celebrities you see, have you seen visually that people are motivated to come back to Ghana, or people are motivated? Has tourism gone up for the average person? Is that something that visually can be seen in your day-to-day?
Absolutely. You can see it. More and more people are coming back. As they put it, they're coming back home. And it's visually now, I don't think I go one day without seeing someone that's like a quote-unquote a diaspora who has moved back. And I will even go as far as to say some of my people in my own circle of friends are women that are not even Ghanaian at all. Mm-hmm. They moved here. One of my really good friends, Almost Today. Shout out to Almost Today.
Shout out. What's up?
She moved here from New York, and she's not even Ghanaian. She came here. She's working at my old high school. You know what I mean? Like, she's carved out a little life for herself here in Ghana. And she's one of many women like that who have come here. Even, like, we've got a bunch of Jamaican, like, my friend Lakeisha, she's from Jamaica. She lives here. And she's now even started doing her own, like, Jamaican Ghanaian festivals out here every December. So it's like, so they're also trying to bridge their own gaps in the sense where now that they're here, they're also trying to create these avenues such that more people can come and visit, more people can discover that there's life outside of this Western or American bubble.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, I can't wait.
You guys gotta come over here.
Yeah,
you guys I got an extra room.
Yes.
I got a couch.
Hey, there we go.
You're gonna have to kick us out. You're gonna have to kick us out. Don't open that up. We won't leave. We will not leave. I ain't playing. I think it's important that the gap to be bridged. Yeah. However you say it. I think it's important that from a lot of African Americans, or that you all know, that there is a longing to want to be home with a lot of us. Mm-hmm. There's a longing to want to, like, we kind of don't know anything about our history outside of Western's poorly job of encapsulating it, And one of the reasons I like traveling, and one of the concepts or the societal setup, is I'm fascinated what life is like day to day when everybody looks like me.
I know, right?
We don't experience that. I can't even experience it. I experience it in little windows. Like, I went to the Dominican Republic, and it kind of got a little glimpse, but I just don't know what that's like. And for somebody who's experienced both, I'm pretty sure there's pros and cons between the two. But I would imagine I would imagine that, like, you know, the benefits of living in a diverse country, as far as like different cultures, the genres of music, like we were touching on before, you're gonna get a lot of different multicultural genres of music, but living in a place where you don't feel black.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't feel like you're kind of always reminded there.
You're not,
here.
you can't just be.
Right.
Yeah. You always just have this like chip on your shoulder, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that at all? Like, do you like?
I'm gonna flip it to you guys like this. It's funny how you say that, but even here in our own country, when the white man comes, even our own people here treat them better than us.
Yeah, I think that's just a global problem.
I think that's worldwide.
So what I will speak to is, it is like, I think there is a privilege in being able to wake up every day and see so many people that look like you. Because what I think is beautiful is, like, from the billboards to the movies to your commercials to you are the norm. And that, like they say, representation matters. You are the norm. But one of the downsides, though, is that there's still this colonial mentality where when, you know, white people come here, they are also treated better. They are given better opportunities than, let's say when I first moved back here, it was harder for me to find a job than, let's say, somebody who came and they were white. You know, there's a lot of disparities even with regards to socioeconomic balances that occur where, like, even apartments, like, your average Ghanaian living on 8 cedis a day cannot afford to live in an apartment by themselves when people are still living with their parents. Because the quality of life here is only matching expatriate, what we call expats, which is the people that come in from outside, mostly white. They are living good here, whereas your local Ghanaian is living very poorly. And so even though I would say that there is a privilege in being able to, like, it's empowering living here because I look like everybody and I don't ever have to think of what I look like. But I will say that there are moments when you are reminded. There are moments when you remember that you were a colony, if you know what I mean. And so, yeah, that's what I would say on that front.
So, is there a substantial white population there?
Oh my gosh, why won't they leave?
I had no idea. I had no idea. That's why I'm like, wait, what?
What? Them and the Chinese, like, if we can get them out of here, we'd be doing really great.
Wow.
So many, and the Chinese,
it's funny.
It's like they go everywhere. So I get it. Whoa, over here they go as far as, like, they'll go and get Ghanaian passports, like, and they'll be able to go through the passport line quicker than I will when I'm standing at the passport office. Like,
my God.
This is insane.
Oh my goodness.
It's super funny you say that. I came across this video and it was a guy speaking on Asian people just in general, and the Asian businessman was telling him, he was saying how I mean, it's gonna sound insensitive, maybe trigger me a little bit, but he was saying how black people are the dumbest people of it. He was like, I can set up shop if I go to an African country. I set up shop next to a native store. That native will be out of business in a couple months, because with the help of the people living there. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of disgusting. You know, the guy he was talking to took exception to it, but it's kind of true.
It's very true. And I would say that him saying that we're dumb, it's not even dumb. We're passive and we're kind. And so we're passive in the way where it's like, even if someone is, like, there's a saying, and yes, like, it doesn't matter. Like, even if somebody is, like, hurting you, you still have to show them a level of respect. We're taught respect here. Like, the first thing out the womb, the first thing they teach you is respect. Like, yeah. And so, regardless of, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as somebody's older than you or somebody necessarily, like, has more accolades, then you have to show them respect. And so over here, we're very passive when it comes to things. Even though somebody might be hurting you, you're not going to tell them outright that they're hurting you. You know, and so I would agree with him in the sense that I wouldn't use the word dumb, but I would say that we're very passive and we can be gullible. We can be very gullible at times.
I feel like we're giving.
Yeah,
we're
some
people.
Giving.
You know, we come from Yeah, we come from the land of plenty, so we always had and we always gave, and that's kind of the mentality that we're all so welcoming to everybody else.
Exactly. But that's like our nature, right? We're kind-hearted, like we're open, like like village living, community living, like we're like that. We like you treat people like they're your family, even if they're not your family. Like that's just how we're all raised here, like to just to take care of one another. I remember, for example, growing up, like one of my grandmother's best friends in the neighborhood had like a Sunday school. All the kids, when all the parents were at work, we just go hang out at her house. It's like village living. We take care of everybody. So even when outsiders come in, we treat them the same as we would treat our blood. But we do that and to our own detriment sometimes, because that's what happens when people can come over here and they pillage, and then they took people over and they were slaves, like, because we were that kind.
Right.
So it's things like that.
And it's crazy because meanwhile people look at us and then they have fear. Like, what? Like, we're the kindest people.
Exactly. We're the kindest.
Goodness. Wow, okay. My mind is a little blown. Had no idea that there are white folks over there like that.
What? Oh my goodness. I should send you one day. Actually, this week, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go out. Every time I go out, I'm going to just take pictures for you and I'll just send it. So you can see for yourself.
You're gonna
especially
go
when you go to like
people.
grocery stores. Especially when you're in a grocery store. Oh my gosh.
So like there's like little white kids and
listen,
everything. Like,
yes, they have their own little like groups, like their little parties that they do. Like there's certain restaurants that a lot of us don't go to because when you go there, it's just overrun with white people. Like
what? Oh my gosh. So what about like the
Starbucks
schools? Are they like in the same schools?
Yeah, they're in the same. We also have an American school. It's called Lincoln Community School. We have a German and Swiss school. We have there's a lot of like Chinese schools in Tema, in an area called Tema. And so but sometimes, and then we have international schools, obviously. So a lot of them will go to the international schools as well. A large population. Some of them, like their families have been like generations of Ghanaian white people.
Generations, then.
Okay. That's a whole other thing I want to look into now. Jeez.
How's it like interacting?
Them and Lebanese guys. Lebanese.
Really?
A lot of Lebanese population, huh?
Okay. That's very interesting.
Taking notes.
Yeah, right? Like, okay.
All right, stuff down to look into. This has been amazing. I got to ask you, what's next for you? I remember you indicated that you were looking into do like more visuals and immersive theater. Explain that to me. What's that like?
I'm very dramatic. That's just by the way. And I think that because of my propensity for drama, I really enjoy being able to show my music in the way I see it in my head. And in that regard, I want to get into immersive theater where my performances are not just me standing on the stage and singing to you, but they become full-on plays. They become full-on, movement. I'm bringing you guys into a specific world. And so I'm trying to develop kind of the beta for the Thank God It's Ria musical that encompasses all of the different EPs in one stage performance. And I feel like that's the only way I can perform it. Yeah, I feel like that's the only way I can perform it.
I'm like,
and then in that regard as well,
cool.
I'm going to be using the themes from what I want to do in the musical are going to be what also inspires some of the visuals. In everything I do, I want there to be a common thread. I want it to feel like I'm telling my story, and so even within the visuals, I want there to be something very common going through all of them. And so that's something I want to do because I know I don't have a lot of visuals, but I have a lot of music. And so now I'm trying to get into letting people see me more. And especially being home in Ghana, like I want also people to get a sense of where I'm from and see something different because Ghana is beautiful. Even when you just move out of the capital, a lot of people just think of Ghana and they think of Accra, but when you move outside of the capital, Ghana is a very beautiful, very lush, tropical, coastal country. And so I want to also get into showing more of what we have here. We've got elephants, we've got all kinds of stuff. I want to turn my music into these kind of like visual experiences where it's like a musical. Because I feel like that's the only way you can experience them. And how I see, every time I think of my music, I think of the film. And then I'm like, okay, I want someone to like if you're listening to the song, I want you to imagine exactly the position that you have to be in. If you're playing lead, if you're looking at it from the outside, if you're a third party in the room, I want you to feel exactly what the song is making me feel. And the only way I can do that is through like immersive theater. For example, like, you ever been to those movie theaters where you're like watching 3D, it's like IMAX, but then they also have like effects, like it's like if you splash in water, they're like splashing in water. That's, I kind of want people to be able to experience my music like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so trying to develop that, and then obviously also do a bunch of visuals, because 44 songs now it's like I have a lot of work to do visually too.
You're gonna be one of a kind, though. Like, definitely a pioneer in that field.
Yeah, you're gonna have to bring that over to the States.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Now I think I'm gonna do it every year.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So the 11 weeks leading up to my birthday, I'm gonna do that.
You know what? Just stamp your name in the history books right now.
Yeah, straight up. Pioneer.
So dope, man.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, this has been amazing.
Yes.
This has been so dope. Yeah, we want to thank you again.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I could do it.
Yes, absolutely.
We really appreciate it. Our first guest, Ria Boss.
Boom, 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 boom.
Right. Air horn. All right. We definitely have to do this again.
Oh my God, I wish we could like hang out.
Yeah, well, I'm probably going to be coming to the States like sometime soon, so
Let us
that's
know.
a possibility.
Let us know.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna set something up.
Oh, for sure.
Before I got you got anything you want to plug? Where can people find you?
Yes.
Oh yes, people can find me. So right now I'm on a little social media break, but I'm back in like 2 weeks. And it's all Ria Boss. You just type Ria Boss with an underscore before and after the Ria Boss on Instagram, on Twitter, RiaBoss.com to find out about any tours, anything happening. I might be in Europe for a little while, doing a couple tours in the coming months, so look out for that. And yeah, a couple of videos to be coming out very soon. So watch out for that as well.
Yeah, make sure you send us over. I want the exclusive. Everything you got.
I got you. I'll even send you guys some unreleased music too if you want to hear it.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Y'all
Please.
jealous. Our audience gonna be jealous as hell. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, that wraps up today's episode of the BZ Podcast, sitting down with Ria Boss. We are super happy we got the chance and the opportunity to chat it up. Very interesting, very dope individual.
Yes.
Very dope music.
Yes.
Just
a beautiful woman, just all around.
And I really hope you all enjoyed it. Shout out to everybody who takes the time to listen to our little old podcast every now and then. And we hope to just keep bringing y'all more content. And creatives, we want to talk to y'all.
Yes.
We want to talk to y'all. Don't hesitate to reach out. And we will see you next time.
Peace.
Bye. Deuces.
You've got a lot of strength, t'as de la puissance. Vraiment, ma chérie, you've got it all. Il y a l'amour dans ta vie. There ain't nothing better. You've got a lot of strength, baby. Don't you? Bouncing to your energy is all that you need. You got it, baby. Bouncing to your energy is all that you need. Said you got it, baby. Tell me how it really feels when you conquered all. Every little obstacle. You show me a lot of love. T'es vraiment la vérité. Je t'aime, mon cher. are you in this for forever? Are you in this till infinity? Said, are you in this for forever? Are you in this till infinity? Because bouncing to your energy is all that you need. You got it, baby. Bouncing to your energy is all that you need. Said you got it, baby. Tell me how it really feels when you conquered all. Every little obstacle that got bouncing to your energy is all that you need. You got it, baby. Bouncing to your energy is all that you need. Said you got it, baby. Tell me how it really feels when you've conquered all. Every little obstacle that got you.